VTuber 一問一答自己紹介
Yeah, and the tape's
それじゃあ
rolling.
行くよせーのお名前は
Katt Phloxworthy.
呼び方は
Just Cat is fine.
あなたは何系 VTuber?
Nerdy cat girl who features
誕
spaceflight.
生日は
May 4th.
年齢は
Older than Pneumatic.
性別は
Transgender
身
female.
長は
4'11".
出身は
Sacramento County.
チャームポイントは
Zylog hair clip.
突然ですがモノマネどうぞ
Yeah, what's up, Dad?
活動場所 所は
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube.
はじめの挨拶
Thank you for joining me.
終わりの挨拶
Bye.
推しマークは
None at present.
配信タグは
Catlight feed.
ファンアートは
Cat pics.
ファンネームは
Cat's apprentices.
好きな色は
Iris Indigo.
好きなことは
Vintage computers and
得意
video.
なことは
Technology.
ここで一言愛の告白好
I love you.
きな食べ物は
Ethnic foods.
好きな飲み物は
Craft soda.
好きな漫画は
Pizza 10.
好きなアニメは
Planet.
好きなゲームは
Left 4 Dead 2.
好きな音楽は
Classic rock.
苦手なことは
Human stupidity.
尊敬するのは
Spacefaring people.
叶えたい夢は
ISS crew
みん
interview.
なに一言どう
Thanks
ぞ
so much for your support and a final status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Katt Phlox.
You have permission to launch.
3, 2, 1. RD-180 ignition, booster ignition, and liftoff of Atlas V and Centaur. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Katt Phloxworthy here. We are going to be heading over to Corn Ranch, Texas momentarily, where they're going to make a bit of history with the first crewed flight of New Shepard. In this case, it's the NS-16 mission. It has a crew of 4 aboard, 2 of whom are from the Bezos family, founder Jeff Bezos of Blue Origin, and his younger brother Mark, along with 2 other people, the youngest and the oldest people ever to go into space. The youngest person is a guy by the name of Oliver Damien, who is from the Netherlands. At 18 years old, he will be the youngest person to cross the Kármán line. And the oldest person to cross the Kármán line will be Wally Funk, who was part of the Mercury 13 program back in the 1960s, which ran parallel to the Mercury 7 program, which of course had everyone else. The vehicle is called New Shepard because it's named for Alan Shepard, the first ever American into space. He like Shepard himself, this vehicle is going suborbital. It only goes up to maybe just past the Kármán line and then comes right back down. Both portions of the vehicle will actually be coming back down and touching down. The vehicle is fully reusable. Basically, what'll happen is that the they'll separate at the booster. They'll separate the booster when they're close to exhaustion of fuel, or propellant rather. It will start to fall. The capsule will continue to soar upward for a bit, and then it'll pass the Kármán line. And at that point, when they reach apogee, they'll have about 5 minutes of weightlessness, and then of course they'll have to get back in their seats and get ready to come back down to Earth. And this vehicle has very, very large windows, so you can actually watch everything as you go up. And on top of that, be able to look outside it once you're in place, once you're up above the Kármán line. And hopefully, maybe even some people might get to see get what is called the overlook view, the overlook effect. Basically, where you look at the Earth and you realize what the Earth really is, and that's little more than a little speck of dust in the rest of this whole place we call the universe. So, on that note, I think we better go ahead and head on over to Corn Ranch, Texas. Let me find my switcher here. Okay, there is the vehicle. The bottom there is the booster, which is a... Looks like the crew's already in. I believe they went in at T-minus 45 minutes, and I believe at T-minus 30, they start loading propellant in. So basically what happens is that at 6 o'clock, they're going to light the single BE-3, which is a hydrogen-oxygen propellant fuel rocket, and they will rise up to about just shy of the Kármán line, where they will separate. And the vehicle will then, the Blue Origin capsule will keep going up and up and up. And then the booster will start to fall down first, and will propulsively land on a landing pad about 2 miles downrange. And then here, of course, is the we're seeing the interior of the new Shepard capsule.
Sister to Jeff and Mark Bezos.
So in there, yeah, they're two of the Bezos brothers, two of the Bezos kids, Jeff Bezos and Mark Bezos. Jeff Bezos founded Blue Origin, and one of their other products, the BE-4, which is a liquid methane, liquid oxygen propellant rocket engine, which will be not only part of their new Glenn vehicle, which will be
on that note, Jeff and Mark,
which will be a basically a complement to which is going to be in competition with the Super Heavy from SpaceX. And the engine will also propel United Launch Alliance's Vulcan Centaur main stage, mainly because what they're trying to do is get rid of the Atlas stage because it relies on the RD-180, which is a Russian built engine. And of course, when things went pretty badly back in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea, that's when they basically said, you know, we need to get something that's a little bit less politically sensitive, for want of a better way of putting it. So anyway, we are at, it's about 12, just over 12 minutes out. Well, actually, excuse me. It's going to be, they're launching in just over 15, just under 15 and a half minutes. I'm sorry. There is Blue Origin's headquarters. And one thing I've on one previous launch that I did cover, which was NS-14, beautiful footage. It looks like some of them are from drone footage, from drones. I'd say positioned just above. They're at a hold. I'm not sure if it's a. I'm not sure if they're running into an issue or if it's a built-in hold. Sometimes what they'll do on some launches, especially ULA, they will actually put they have a built-in hold at T-4 minutes, and what they'll do is they'll run through a whole bunch of checks to make sure everything is ready to go, including and especially making sure that all systems are go, not just in the vehicle, but also on the ground and the range around the area where the vehicle will be launched. Basically, what they're trying to do is make sure that everything is safe, make sure that nobody's going to have rocket parts raining on them in case of an abort scenario or something really bad happens.
Jeff is one of the best businessmen ever and a great visionary, and Mark is a firefighter and has such an amazing track record.
So basically, what they're doing is they make sure that the range is secure. They make sure that the vehicle is okay, and make sure that everything on the ground is okay as well. Not just the technical stuff on the not just the equipment that's handling the rocket and the capsule on the ground, but also the people in launch and mission control. Make sure that they're okay, and make sure that everything's functioning and working. That was also pretty much true in the space shuttle program. They had at least 2 or 3 built-in holds, the last of which occurring at about T-9 minutes, where after 9 minutes, when they release that hold, they'll do a whole bunch of other checks getting ready, including making sure that the computers are completely free of errors, and on top of that, they will also close and lock their visors and start oxygen flow into their helmets, and as well as do final items, which is closing off the propellant fills, as well as pressurizing the tanks. And near the end, the computers the computers on board the vehicle will then take full control of the remainder of the countdown and the vehicle's critical functions immediately prior to T0. In the case of the space shuttle, that's at T-31 seconds. In the case of Falcon 9, that's T-1 minute, where they say the vehicle's in startup. They just secured the hatch. I guess what they have to do, RSS First Step. I like that name. It's oddly appropriate that they call it that, because it is America's first step into space, as it were. Normal people, just like last week with the Virgin Galactic VSS Unity Spaceship 2 vehicle, which went up carrying Sir Richard Branson and 3 of his colleagues from Virgin Galactic. So what this represents is finally ordinary people like you and me finally taking a step into a space beyond the realm of Earth's gravity. And that's going to happen in about 15, hopefully right around 15 minutes, but we'll see what's going on with the hold. And like I said before, scrubs are likely to happen either before or in this case during the stream. So if it does scrub, we'll of course be sure to let you know. So the other thing about New Glenn, apparently it is much taller than Super Heavy. And don't know what I'm not sure if it's going to be a super heavy launch. It's going to be a super heavy launch vehicle like, say, Energia was, which was capable of launching 100 tons into orbit, low Earth orbit. Space Shuttle itself was probably the most heavily used heavy launch vehicle, carrying about 70 tons into orbit in its payload bay. And meanwhile, they're now looking at the vehicle. What they're saying there.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us live
So what
from
they're saying?
West Texas. We are here at T-minus 15 minutes to go until launch. We are in a brief hold. We've got our astronauts that are loaded into the capsule. You saw there just a moment ago, we had Oliver Damon on the left, in the left window. To the right of the hatch is our founder, Jeff Bezos. Coming around him is Mark Bezos, and on the opposite side of the capsule is Wally Funk. And again, we're just here in a brief hold, but while we have a moment, let's throw it back to the pad and catch out some of those shots of our astronauts as they get ready for their flight to space and back this morning.
I'm grabbing a quick drink of water here while we wait. There's I think that's the young one that we see in the left-hand window. At 18 years old, he will be the youngest person to cross the Kármán line. And Wally Funk, as mentioned before, at 82 will be the oldest. She won't be the oldest to orbit just yet. That is still held by John Glenn when he first went aboard Friendship 7 in, I believe, 1962. But in the meantime, this, like the namesake astronaut that rode the first one, as well as Virgil Grissom, who rode the second one, which was the Mercury Redstone vehicle, which used an alcohol and basically ethyl alcohol and liquid oxygen rocket atop a Redstone rocket, which took them into suborbital velocity. And they had about 5 minutes worth of weightlessness, and they came back down shortly thereafter. And of course, Grissom's capsule famously sank when it took on a lot of water, and has since been retrieved from the bottom of the Atlantic, I believe it was, since it is, of course, a suborbital flight. So, and then in order to do orbital class flights, they see what they have to say.
Texas for New Shepard's first human flight. We are at T-minus 15 minutes. We are in a brief hold here. This is okay. I mean, to say, Gary, you can appreciate this. We spent years designing this rocket, months and months designing the mission. And if we need to take a couple of minutes more to make sure that the team is aligned, that we're all set and sorted, that our astronauts are happy, that the weather both on the ground and up aloft is within green zones, then we're going to do that. How do you guys think about holds when you're in mission control? What is happening right now?
There's really two kinds of holds. There might be a hold while they investigate an anomaly, and very often that is not the case, though. There are sometimes holds just to catch up in the timeline. The thing about New Shepard that's distinct from orbital vehicles that you might have seen is that we don't need to launch at a precise time to meet some launch window because we're trying to intercept something in space. We have a lot of time. We can take our time. It's better to pause and hold if there's any reason to, if there's a sensor reading that you want to investigate or you just want to catch up in time. So that's why we tend to take these holds. Otherwise, we biased to launching as soon as possible, so we don't otherwise have a lot of buffer in the normal count.
Absolutely. So again, well, actually, now I understand. The hold is lifted.
Yeah.
So it sounds like
They just released the hold when they talked about launch windows. In the case of anything going to the International Space Station, those are always instantaneous, meaning that any hold, unless it's a built-in hold, such as the case with of anything like for an Atlas Centaur, for example, any unscheduled hold will scrub the launch, because then it would be shoving it right into the space where it doesn't want to be. Although there have been very short windows in the space shuttle program as well. In fact, the very last launch ended up going a little bit into a launch window because at one point when they were pulling away the oxygen vent cap. Okay, coming up on T-minus 14 minutes. When they tried to pull back the oxygen vent lid, T-minus 14 minutes, or the beanie cap as they call it, there was no indication that it had actually been pulled back, even though it physically had been. So they had to get something with be able to eyeball it and say, oh yes, it's actually pulled away. And then they released the hold almost immediately, almost literally before the end of the launch window. So they launched so late into that launch window pane that they had to make a few adjustments. So yeah. Anyway, that is an unscheduled hold. Many of the other holds in the launch timelines, such as the ones like I'd mentioned earlier on the Space Shuttle and Atlas Centaur, as well as Delta IV Heavy, those are there for a reason. They have to be there in order to. They usually have them in there to just make sure everything's working, make sure everything is in place, in order, make sure that everybody's okay who's flying aboard if it's a crewed flight, and make sure that the vehicle, ground systems, personnel, downrange, the range that goes downrange of the vehicle, make sure everything is clear, make sure everything is healthy ahead of that launch. So they'll put those holds in there deliberately to make sure that everything's working. One of the things I just noticed is that white thing just right next to the capsule. I think that's there as sort of something to offer shade to the people. So that's rather an interesting way of doing it.
They've actually documented a change in core values in almost all astronauts from before the flight to after the flight. And as millions and millions of people begin
See what they have to say.
Experience, I think the knowledge on Earth and a different understanding about our planet will gradually occur.
That's interesting. They have the way it works. That's the drone shot I was talking about earlier.
Something that changes who
When it's above when it sits on the pad, there goes the booster, and then you see the capsule continue to go upward until it hits apogee.
Incredible stuff. I hope one day I get to
And there's the flight profile.
experience that. And I know obviously
They'll release the what happens is that the two portions of the vehicle will separate at just below the Kármán line. The vehicle will go above the Kármán line by about maybe 16 to 25 kilometers. So it'll have a total altitude of 116 to 125 kilometers.
ready for our go no go poll.
Here goes. Let's see what they have to say.
Flight director, new Shepard is go for launch. Booster, commence similar count.
Wilco flight.
Controller, strap UHF voice.
Are they actually going to run a poll? That one? Sounds like they're on internal power. Ten and a half
Thank you
minutes.
everybody for joining us again. Sorry about that. So we got so caught up in the flight profile and the perspectives from our NASA astronauts. We just caught the tail end there of the go no go poll. But I'm hearing that we're looking good for flight today. So let's get
Vehicle,
back into
payload,
that flight
and
profile
crew
here
are
that you were
all
telling
ready
us
for
about
launch.
here. Again, how are they getting up to space, over the Kármán line, the internationally recognized line of space, and then back down here?
So anyway, what's happening right now is that they're preparing the vehicle for the final moments before launch.
Liftoff, it's when we send the command to start the engine. It lifts off about 7 seconds later. It will ascend for about 2.5
Then
minutes.
basically what happens is that
It goes through what we call
they'll burn the engine for about 3 minutes. We just passed the T-minus 10 minute mark.
the fasten seatbelt light on their panels will turn off, and they'll be able to float around the capsule for 3 to 4 minutes. During that time,
That sounds about right.
both vehicles are still ascending, and they will ascend above 100 kilometers. The Kármán line today, we're headed for about 105, 106 kilometers.
So about 105, 106 will be the apogee, basically the very peak of the vehicle's flight path.
More aerodynamic. Before it hits the atmosphere, it deploys wedge fins on top to stabilize it.
T-minus 9 minutes. Those wedge fins that they're talking about up top, they deploy that. It turns it into turns them into brakes, kind of like the. Although apparently those things will actually, and then there are fins near the bottom that work like the grid fins on a Falcon 9 first stage.
Down to a soft landing.
Their legs deploy a little differently, however.
Before landing, it might do 1 or 2 maneuvers to make sure that it's over that pad, and then it will touch down softly. Meanwhile, the capsule will continue its flight. The astronauts will strap back in before hitting the atmosphere, get back in their seats. There'll be thrusters that will stabilize the capsule just to prevent it from rocking too much, and then parachutes will deploy about 10,000 feet above the ground.
Yeah, and then they'll fall a little, they'll fall a bit slower, and then near the very end, at the very bottom, just like a Soyuz capsule, a group of little solid rockets will fire for about a second to slow it the rest of the way down to the point where it thunks on the ground instead of hitting it real hard at about, say, they'll be falling at 15 miles an hour under parachute. They'll slow it even further with those small little solid rocket motors.
1 or 2 miles an hour. It's a really nice, soft landing. And again, Gary, we confirmed we are go for launch for first.
They are go for launch.
Shepard. My goodness,
We're coming up on T-minus 7.5 minutes.
17 years since you joined Blue
Mark.
Origin. What are you feeling right now, Gary?
It's still hard to believe that it's actually here. I don't know if it's set in.
So between it and Virgin Galactic's Spaceship 2,
Past and present.
there are a couple of means that people can get up to space. Although Virgin Galactic's Spaceship 2 apparently only goes up to like the 50-mile mark, which is what NASA considers the edge of space. Whereas this one goes all the way up to the Kármán line, which is what the international authorities consider to be space.
To this program. It's, again, a special shout out to all of our Blue Origin team members watching around the world. Now,
Just under 7 minutes.
the others that are watching around the world, if you want to experience space flight for yourself, if you want to do what Jeff and Mark and Wally and Oliver are doing today, and you're serious about it, send us an email at astronauts@blueorigin.com. We're open for ticket sales to send you all to space. What just an incredible.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't think any of us can really afford it just yet. But then again, airlines were much the same way back in the day. It wasn't until the advent of the Boeing 747 where it really drove the price of airline tickets down.
Going up, and Wally and Oliver, soon to be the oldest and the youngest astronauts who have ever flown into space. Oliver, that's
T-minus 6 minutes and counting.
National friends out there.
So, there's a bit of history being made here. Not just like I said, yet another human-rated vehicle going up, but also one that's carrying the youngest and oldest people ever to break the Kármán line.
Until recently, we said, "Hey, Wally, why don't you join us for this first crew?" And I can only imagine our future customers that are going to go on board. They're going to
Just under 5.5 minutes.
backgrounds, and we certainly look forward to that. As we mentioned, we're going to have.
Sounds like they have a siren going off saying they're getting ready to fire the engine up.
In the future, and that is
Excuse me.
Imagine, again, as you were building the system, Gary, as you were thinking about, okay, this is not just a
Coming up on 5 minutes before launch.
flight, operation with New Shepard. You've built it for a long-term program.
We've built it to continue.
T-minus 5 minutes.
Take hundreds and hundreds of astronauts in the future. We hope to be into the
I hope we're going to get some interior views of the capsule.
There have only been about 560, 570 people that have ever been over the Kármán line, up.
That is a sobering thought. We haven't even seen 1,000 yet. These two vehicles will probably very much increase that number.
Someday in the near future, we will be over 570 just on the New Shepard program.
4.5 minutes.
You gonna go up?
Absolutely.
You gonna go up with me?
Sure.
You in, man? Awesome. Okay, we are T-minus 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go until launch. What an incredible moment. Let's check out New Shepard on the pad here. We are awaiting
We're coming up on T-minus 4 minutes.
last minute checks on the vehicle. At T-minus 2 minutes is when the vehicle, we throw the show over to her. It's all on her. It's an autonomous vehicle. But Gary, do you want to talk?
T-minus 4 minutes. So it sounds like that the T-minus 2 minute mark is when the computers on board the vehicle will take complete control over the remainder of the countdown and the vehicle's critical functions, just prior to liftoff.
Is executed entirely by the vehicle itself through an automated checklist. You'll see a couple of things. There will be things that you don't see, such as sensor checks, pressure checks on the tanks, radio checks. All hundreds and hundreds of different checks will be stepped through.
They do a lot of those checks on just about any space vehicle, and a good many of them happened. A good many of those checks actually came into play, shutting down the RS-25 engines on the space shuttle prior to launch on, I think it was like 6 different occasions, which is called the RSLS abort, redundant sequencer redundant. Oh, I forget what the first S stands for. Anyway, T-minus 3 minutes. The launch sequencer, redundant set launch sequencer. Basically, what that does is it goes through all the vehicle's critical functions to make sure that everything is within parameters and nothing is either running too high or too low. Look at that view. That's going to be an interesting. I wonder if it's going to be taking a picture of that when that thing goes up. And T-minus 2.5 minutes.
Of course, it's not filled with all the propellant that it had on the way back up. So if we throttle it back, kind of like an airplane, it comes in for a nice, soft landing. And
we're coming up on T-minus 2 minutes. And at that point, the vehicle itself will have full control over the countdown as well as its own critical functions. T-minus 2 minutes. There goes the gantry that allows them to get in.
There's Oliver on the left, Jeff Bezos on the right. We are about to go to space, everybody.
Things are going to get exciting from here.
We are in auto sequence.
Yep, they just called auto sequence there. Everything is now in the full control. That vehicle is now in full control of its own functions as well as the remainder of the countdown. T-minus 90 seconds. Coming up on T-minus 60 seconds.
Ariane, when that engine gimbal check occurs and that engine swings, they should actually be able to feel it in the cabin. Because
Basically what that does is that's going to move the BE forward. There go the aero surfaces at the base. There's the BE3 down there. We should be able to watch it move. There it goes. It's gimbling. Just under a minute. "45 seconds.
All right, here we go, everybody. Thousands of people contributed years to this historic moment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Blue Origin's first human flight.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Let's light this candle.
Yep, let's light it. T-minus 20 seconds.
T-minus NS-16, guidance internal.
They're now in full control of the vehicle's guidance. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. BE3 ignition. Once it's at full thrust, and liftoff of New Shepard on NS-16, carrying the youngest and oldest people ever to go in space, and the vehicle has cleared the tower. The first event that's going to happen will happen right around, I say, about T plus 50 seconds or so, is when the vehicle will break the sound barrier and go into the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure, or max Q. And we're also watching the speed. It'll be going supersonic momentarily.
Oh my goodness, listen to the roar of the BE3 engine. We are just about to pass through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. That was when the stresses on the vehicle are at their maximum.
Max Q.
They're just called max Q.
Beautiful burn on that BE3 engine.
They're about to go. Actually, apparently they do it before they go supersonic.
Liquid oxygen as the propellant. It's a nice, not just clean in terms of beautifully performing, but what comes out of it, it's steam, right?
The vehicle has gone supersonic.
Whew. To see the glow of the engine underneath the rocket, just under our shoulders, and to know that we've got a crew that is going to space. It just feels different, doesn't it, Gary?
It is totally different.
We're going to keep burning for all the way up to about just shy of the Kármán line, which is about 67 miles.
In the bottom left, the altimeter in the middle of the screen there. So far appears to be a nominal flight.
That looks good so far. Pretty soon they're going to be hitting what NASA considers the edge of space.
All right, coming up here on MECO, main engine cutoff. That will be followed shortly by separation. And at that point,
And there they go. They're throttling down the engine.
The astronauts unbuckle and take in the freedoms of zero G.
There we go. We have MECO.
Main engine cutoff.
There's a view from inside the vehicle.
Down the New Shepard rocket. Look at that.
Pretty soon they're going to separate. They're going up.
Unreal.
They're at 0 G. Pretty soon they're going to be crossing the line that NASA considers space. They have now crossed that line. They have now earned their astronaut wings in as far as the U.S. is concerned.
And here we are. You can start to see. Stand by. You're going to see the separation of the capsule from the booster itself.
They should be able to open up their buckles and enjoy floating around in zero gravity. They're still slowing down. They're about to go. Sounds like we're hearing what's going on inside. They just, looks like they just passed the Kármán line, which is the internationally accepted border to space. So they've definitely earned their astronaut wings.
And there we go. Our astronauts have passed the Kármán line at about 328,000.
They're about to hit apogee, and pretty soon, before they hit apogee, they will separate. Looks like they've already separated from the...
When the speed hits zero, you know that they've hit apogee, their maximum altitude, and you hear they're having...
Now they started to fall. They've already separated between the booster and the capsule. Pretty soon they're going to have to get back in their seats. Sounds like she's enjoying it too. That is awesome.
1 minute warning. 1 minute warning.
They need to start getting back and getting ready to get back into their seats because they're going to start feeling the influences of gravity again. Sounds like somebody is able to see the booster after it had separated from the capsule. Booster is doing 1,600 miles an hour, which is about Mach 2. A little bit over Mach 2. We can see one side, the left-hand side is a view from the booster itself. They just passed 2,000 miles an hour. They're coming up on Mach 3.
Astronaut Oliver.
Oliver, status check. Oh, sorry. Blue Control, Oliver, status.
Pretty soon, those fins will actually have steering authority once they get into the denser portions of the atmosphere.
Blue Control, Wally is boosting.
Copy. Astronaut demo.
Demo, of course, being it's the call sign of Jeff Bezos for the initials of his kids. Here comes the booster. We're seeing the booster from the ground on the right. They've already deployed the wedge fins for aerodynamic braking. They're going to ignite the engine before too long. It's slowing down. Looks like the BE-3 is about to ignite. 12,000, 10,000. Looks like they're chilling the engine. There it is. Supersonic. I mean, the sonic booms. There goes the BE-3 to light up, to bring it down. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Here it goes. It's coming down. The legs are deploying. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's kicking up a bit of dust. And touchdown. Touchdown of the Blue Origin New Shepard booster.
A beautiful rocket that provided
That was perfect. That was a perfect flight.
First up, your booster has landed.
And now we're waiting on, there's the capsule. And in the center, there's a solid rocket motor, which will light up in case they need to abort. That's good to hear. Pretty soon, they're going to deploy the parachutes to slow it down. First, they'll use drogue chutes to start the initial slowdown. They're doing about 200 miles an hour. And then they're going to pop open the main chutes, which will slow it down even more.
Stand by drogues. Stand by drogues.
Okay, the drogues have deployed. They'll slow it down by quite a bit, but not all the way. They'll slow it down to about maybe 100, anywhere between 50 to 100 miles an hour. After which point there go the main chutes, and they will open very slowly, and they're slowing down by quite a bit, and they're at 50 miles an hour. Now the mains are fully open. And now they're at 15. They're going to continue to descend at 15 miles an hour.
Now they're coming floating back down at just about 15 or 16 miles an hour. About to
there's the capsule.
Texas, after having gone over the Kármán line, the internationally recognized line of space, the world's newest astronauts. Gary, how you holding up, friend?
I am speechless.
Wow. And those big.
And by virtue of having crossed even the NASA line, you will get astronaut wings, no questions asked.
Floating before the activation of the skirt jet for a soft touchdown.
And then what they'll do just before they touch down, they will they will ignite several small solid rockets on there, and that will slow it all the rest of the way down from 15 miles an hour.
Soft touchdown, almost like just sitting in a chair. But I'm sure their adrenaline is pumping now.
I'll bet it is. $300 feet. There's a drone there, just inside of 200 feet. 100 feet. 50. Here it comes. There it is. There the engine. There go the engines, and it is down. They have touched down softly on the ground.
What? What a
Welcome
flight.
back to Earth, first step. Congratulations to all of you.
Ah, what a day, what a day.
Blue Control, Oliver, thank you so much for everyone there. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
First step, you have a very happy Capcom here as well.
That's a good thing to hear too. When you make your Capcom happy, you're in good shape. Capcom being short for Capsule Communicator.
Copy. Astronaut. Copy. Astronaut demo.
There are all three of those, the main chutes.
Astronaut demo, I am unbelievably good.
Copy.
Blue Control, Bezos, best day ever.
So this is now, we're pretty much at the precipice of ordinary people being able to go to space on something even resembling a routine basis now. Oh, that's good. There's their mission control.
First up, Blue Control, your apogee was 351,210 feet.
Blue Control, could you say that in meters?
They were watching themselves, probably. I think the next thing they're getting ready to do is they're going to get ready to egress the vehicle once support personnel get out there. And pretty soon, a lot more people are going to be able to feel that and actually be in space. You can still do it on a Vomit Comet, which is basically a plane doing parabola type trajectories, basically where they fly up and then they fly straight down toward the ground, where you can't even put your feet on the floor. And they can also change it such that it's like Martian or lunar gravity. They just have to change the angles of the angles of the dives. There they go. There go the support personnel.
Open the hatch. You can see them there. They are arriving at the capsule in the Rivians. You can actually also see that the parachutes fell very close to the capsule. It means that there's not much wind out there. It was a beautiful, beautiful day.
And they fell outward. Basically, they're equidistant positions around the vehicle. So yeah, it was. There they are. There goes one of their personnel. They're waving.
We start moving even before it landed, based on the prediction of landing. We used weather balloons that we launched throughout the morning, and that gives us a very good idea.
They were also making sure that there's stuff in the atmosphere that's okay, making sure that it's free of wind shear and anything like that.
member 7 is just making sure everybody is okay and gives them a thumbs up. They're also grounding the vehicle. When you go into
Yeah,
space,
so then you don't have any electrostatic discharge.
significant electric charge. That's actually why we prefer that the astronauts not get out themselves, so that we can ground the vehicle of static charge, which can...
Well, that makes sense.
Excellent, and I think there that Kevin Sprogg, our crew member 7, has given the thumbs up for all of our astronauts that are on board there. Again, Jeff Bezos, Mark Bezos, Wally Funk, and Oliver Damon. What an incredible day! You heard
There's their egress ladder.
I mean, this is. I feel like this is our best day ever, and we didn't even get to go up to space. I mean, what a day! Again, congratulations.
They're about to crack the hatch open.
Our astronaut crew, and of course the friends and family.
They're safing the vehicle, I think.
Incredible astronauts. They're just about to exit the capsule here. Let's wait for that moment. There you see Jeff in the window.
Felix is up here. All right, guys, we'll do later.
Okay, now they're getting ready to... Looks like they're getting ready to crack the hatch open and have the crew egress.
Hey, the main parachute line in front of the hatch.
I wonder if they actually also have to equalize the pressure inside and out, between the inside and outside. Or either the hatch will be blown inside if it's too low on the inside, or blow it out if it's too high on the inside.
And there's Jeff. Thumbs up.
CC safe, Jimmy.
You heard there, the CC is safe.
They just safed the vehicle. Make sure there aren't any propellants that are going to go off or leak. But I think all the propellants in there are going to be solid. I don't know if they have any RCS jets on there or not. I guess they're doing posing for the camera, which I guess makes sense because given this is a very historic moment, because like Sir Richard Branson before him, an aerospace company's founder just went to space and back again.
First human flight of New Shepard. Our 4 astronauts went to space.
And the thing is, you don't have to do anything in order to earn your astronaut wings other than pass a specific boundary in space. And NASA, in terms of NASA, it's the 50-mile line. And the other one is the Kármán line for international authorities, which is like 17 miles higher.
To this day and this moment.
Looks like they're getting out of their seats and they're about ready to egress the vehicle. They got their cowboy hats too. There they come. You guys just earned your astronaut wings, especially for Wally Funk, who was denied that since the 1960s. She has finally got her chance to go to space. At 82, she is the oldest person to have actually gone to space, and that gentleman is the youngest to have ever gone to space. At just a mere 18 years old, just barely an adult. Screw the Mile High Club. Let's go for the Kármán line. Yeah, baby. I know that's a little bit silly, but yeah, you get the point. But I'm not trying to make too light of this, but its a point is that ordinary people have not breached that line like the way these 2 flights have. These are important flights in the history of spaceflight. For all intents and purposes, even though Richard Branson's colleagues are basically employees of the company, and 2 of them, of this one, are the founder and his brother. One being an astronaut in training who never got a chance to go to space, and the other one just wet behind the ears adult. Those people are, for all intents and purposes, are ordinary people. They're not, with the sole exception of Wally. She is the only she's the only trained astronaut, as in she is trained. She would have been able to fly the Mercury program had things not been the way they were back in the 1960s.
The time, the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears, you know this better than anybody else. Again, congratulations, Gary.
Thank you, Ariane. And congratulations to the entire Blue Origin team. This might have looked easy today. It was anything but easy. The design
Oh yeah, space is hard.
so safe that anybody can get on board.
From Wally
Everybody was in their shirt sleeve.
became the world's oldest astronaut at 82, to Oliver Damon, who became the world's youngest astronaut at 18. He joined us from the Netherlands. Again, big shout out to our viewers in the Netherlands. Congratulations. You should be very, very, very proud of your countrymen. I mean, again, and representing the next generation of people that are going to go into space. I mean, I can't wait to see what Oliver does with his future. I can only imagine. You heard him in the video.
Yeah, that's just.
You know, he just wants.
It's interesting if he's going to take that experience and take it somewhere.
To hear their impressions of the view from up there. And in fact, I hear in just a moment we hope to be getting a couple of impressions from our astronauts. We'll stand by for that.
Yeah, as soon as they get something, if they're going to talk in the next minute or two, I'm going to go ahead and pause and let them speak. They're about to pop some champagne out. There they go.
It's the only proper way to end the space flight.
Exactly, only proper way to end a space flight with a champagne shower. And man, that is, let me just say,
That is
the beginning of the celebrations. There is a lot more to come.
That is important. I mean, especially considering that it has the implications of this are enormous. We're talking about people like you and me being able to go out and experience zero G, not in a Vomit Comet type plane, but in space. That was their side, not mine.
To Wally Funk.
There they are. There's Wally Funk on the right.
For a woman who was denied her opportunity to go to space in the 60s, she had to wait to the 2020s, but man, it was worth the wait. There you see the Bezos brothers hugging it out. Oliver Damon, you saw him earlier giving his father a big hug. What a moment. You saw the first hug when Jeff came out of the capsule to his mother, Jackie, followed by his father, Mike. I mean, again, what a day. What
Yep.
a day.
That is a bit of history there.
Members of Team Blue, you contributed to today as well. I know you all
Not to mention, we're relying far less upon the government to do all this nowadays. Now, in fact, even the government isn't. The government has now turned to the private sector, who have more than answered the call and stepped up to the plate. SpaceX with Falcon 9 and Crew and Cargo Dragon. Orbital ATK now, Northrop Grumman with Cygnus and launching on Antares. And of course, Boeing coming up sometime later in this month will do their test flight, the second test flight of CST-100 Starliner. I'll be sure to bring that to you as well, and I will bring that to you on my Twitch channel when it comes, and I'll have more information before too long.
Gary, is this as you had expected it? 17 years ago when you joined Blue Origin, you know, like to, you know, start at the end goal, work backwards to make the design, and then build forwards. When you sat there 17 years ago with this,
I wonder how soon they're going to start. I wonder if they're going to actually do any kind of interviews of the astronauts, and I hope they do it soon.
But with the size of the team, when I joined Blue Origin, there were only 20 of us in a warehouse, and it would have taken a huge leap of faith to think that we could have gotten to this point, but we have.
just incredible. You know, I've been here 7 years. We were at 300, so man, you got me beat by a lot there. But you know, I can remember when I joined the team and we were talking about the moment, the day that we were gonna fly people. You know, you talk about it, but it's here and it's now. And I remember we're talking about, okay, well, what will this video look like, and what will that video look like?
Yeah, hard to tell because
It doesn't matter. This is real. This is so much better than anything that we could have ever imagined. The emotional component to human space flight. We've had 15 consecutive test flights, which, as you said earlier, is why we knew that we were ready to put people on board this rocket. And that's what led us to today. To know that we could do this safely, and to give people the experience of a lifetime. And I think based on what we see there, I think you know, job well done, sir. Job well done.
Yep. And hopefully they're gonna get.
Again and again.
Precisely. Absolutely love it. That was amazing. Everybody, I want to thank you all for joining us from around the world for today's Blue Origin historic first human flight. It's been a moment for the ages, and guess what? We're just getting started. We've got 2 more flights this year and several more in the coming years. I want you to join us a little bit later today. We're going to have a live press conference on our website. You're going to get to hear the firsthand impressions from our 4 astronauts that went to space and back. But to all of you out there, if you like what you saw and you are serious and interested about reserving your seat on a future rocket ride to space and back with New Shepard,
There's a drone on the lower right.
we have some exciting news for you. We are open for ticket sales. Send us an email, astronauts@blueorigin.com. We can't wait to fly you to space and back. Gary,
Yes.
it has been an honor to share the desk with you today. The architect of New Shepard. Thank you so much for your insights. Thank you so much for all of your hard work.
Looks like
and
they're
all
getting ready
the
to
hard work
wind
of
up.
the team that has made today possible.
Thank you, Ariane. It was unforgettable.
Absolutely. The road to space is being built, everybody, and we took
Yes.
a huge step today. But we also need your help. If you're interested in learning more about Blue Origin or joining our extraordinary team, please visit our website. And if you'd like to commemorate today's historic launch, we also have some mission patches for you there. And that's also where you can get some apparel, some collectible gear. It is all there. Look at that sweet patch. So beautiful with the names of our new astronauts.
That's nice. Being able to get that kind of swag to commemorate this flight.
It's been a pleasure and an honor to be your host. And of course, until our next launch, Gradatum Ferociter.
I wonder if they're going to show some. I wonder if that's a replay. Yep. Going out to the pad. That's the bell that they ring to say we're coming aboard. Normally they swing, but this one actually telescopes out. There goes the BE-3 igniting and lift off. I can never get over this shot. It is so beautiful. There it is, touching down. And remember what I mentioned earlier, they don't open it fully, because if they open it fully, it would do one of two things. It would slow down the vehicle a lot, and or it would damage the chutes, the cables, as well as the attach points to the vehicle. So anyway, that is, as they said in Star Trek the Motion Picture, the human adventure has just begun. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream here. For those of you who came to watch, thank you so much for coming. This was really a significant milestone in the history of spaceflight, not just for yet another vehicle becoming flight worthy for carrying humans up to space, but also putting space within access to those of us who want to go up there to experience it, even though we may not necessarily be able to go all the way to the ISS, although that is actually starting as well, in the form of space tourism, especially with SpaceX, and maybe to a lesser degree the Soyuz program, because they did a lot of that, and a lot of the Soyuz program was very heavily dependent on the space tourism dollars. And after the space shuttle went offline, they depended more on Americans paying for their seats to go up there, and now they have to figure out how to finance their space program. So anyway, while I'm on the topic of space travel, tomorrow morning, I think it's going to be right around 8 in the morning Pacific, 11 in the morning Eastern, and about 6 p.m. UTC, which is about 7 p.m. in Great Britain. You will, actually, is it that? Yeah. I'm just trying to double check things in my math isn't exactly working with me this morning. Actually, it's 4 hours ahead, so it's actually early afternoon in the on the other side of the Atlantic. And of course, considerably later in the day, where it actually will be happening, which is at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, will be the launch of a Proton M rocket carrying the Nauka space station, the laboratory module made by Russia. They've been trying to launch this for years, and they're finally doing it. So we'll catch it. We'll probably catch it tomorrow morning. I will have information on my Twitter, so keep an eye on it. That's twitter.com/CattPhlox, and I will have all the information ready, as well as where to tune in. And this will be my first time watching and commenting on a Proton M rocket. So go easy on me, please. So anyway, later on tonight, I think I'll be playing a little bit more Left 4 Dead 2 back on Twitch. So that's going to be about 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, and 0200 in UTC. So you might want to tune in for that. So in any event, thank you so much for joining me. This was a fun event to watch, because you don't get to see a lot of history being made much nowadays, except maybe when like last November, when we had the first operational flight of the Crew Dragon module, which of course kicked off this channel. So, and those people who came that time, thank you so much. I'm hoping there might even be something coming up on the 15th of November this year. So if not, we'll figure something out. In any event, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you later tonight while I go make some zombie puree. Thank you so much for joining me, and this is Katt Phloxworthy saying, see you later tonight. Bye.